Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome to Cotton Grower Magazine's Cotton Companion podcast. This is Jim Stedman, editor of Cotton Grower, and I'm joined as always by my good friend and colleague, Beck Barnes. Well, man, have the planters been rolling for the past 2 weeks. Now, we're going to get into some specifics here in just a few minutes, but the surge in planting across the cotton belt here by early June is impressive, and it's highly optimistic for the rest of the season ahead. We do have some areas where continued rain has been an issue, especially as some insurance deadlines are approaching. But I tell you, overall, it's hard to complain about the start to this season.
Yeah. Well, Jim, all eyes understandably on the Southwest after the past couple of years of drought that they've had. And, we're getting better reports from out there, to put it as succinctly as I can. Like we've mentioned on this podcast before, the rains they get out there are a little more scattered than what we might get in the Mid-South. So, within the same county, some farmers are doing good and others are struggling at this point. But on the whole, they are in better shape than they were in 22 and 23. And so we're happy about that. Me personally, I need the rain to shut off in Memphis. I don't mow my yard twice in the same weekend. And so, but in all seriousness, yeah, we're happy that seems like the whole belt's off to a pretty decent start this year.
Yeah, it's. I think there were parts 2 weeks ago where parts of the Southeast were pretty wet, and that seems to have sort of tapered off and taken care of itself, and growers are catching up. And man, you look at Texas, you knew South Texas was done and everything was up and going, but you look at the high plains and they're looking at like being 60% finished up there, which is, for this point of the year is really good.
Yep, we want the last seed near Amarillo in the ground before we get a phone call from Winter Garden saying that they've harvested the first bale. That's the way.
There you go. That's true. That's true. We have a lot to talk about in this episode, but before we move ahead with that and other items of interest, the American Cotton Shippers Association has a brief message they'd like to share.
The American Cotton Shippers Association, also known as ACSA, is a trade association primarily made up of cotton merchants founded in 1924. ACSA members manage the majority of the world's cotton trade, providing services of merchandising, delivery logistics, and risk management to their customers. ACSA is proud to be celebrating its 100th anniversary this year. Join them in Scottsdale, Arizona in June 2024 for their centennial celebration event.
As always, thanks to our friend at ACSA for that message and for their support.
On a related note, in today's episode, we are going to shift focus to one of the 7 segments of the U.S. cotton industry that doesn't spend a lot of time in the spotlight on this podcast, but one that does provide essential services to the growers and the other segments of this industry. We are referring to the cotton merchant community that has its finger on the pulse of cotton movement from the U.S. to markets all around the world. So joining us today in just a few minutes to provide a clearer picture of the merchant side of the cotton business is going to be Buddy Allen, the president and CEO of the American Cotton Shippers Association. Now, we've got several items to discuss with Buddy, so please stick around for that conversation.
Before we get to that discussion, let's take a quick look at some items of interest to U.S. cotton. Now, earlier, we alluded to the progress being made with this year's crop, and the most current USDA crop progress numbers certainly tell the story. So for the week ending June 2nd, USDA says that 70% of the U.S. cotton crop has now been planted, which is right on the 5-year average for early June, and an 11-point increase in the past week. Right now, planting in 8 states, that's Arizona, California, Mississippi, Missouri, North Carolina, Oklahoma, and Virginia, are all ahead of their average, with the other states just within a percentage point or two of their respective average. Squaring is now being reported in 9% of the U.S. crop, and that's just slightly ahead of the 5-year average, thanks primarily to Arizona and South Texas. And right now, the overall crop is rated 60% good to excellent, 35% fair, and only 5% poor. It's a long time since we've seen numbers like that. And there's a reason growers are optimistic. We're really off to a great start.
Yep, we love to see it.
Definitely. And the National Cotton Council has scheduled dates and locations for their 2 Producer Information Exchange programs, or their PI tours, for this season. Since 1989, this program has enabled more than 1,200 U.S. cotton growers to go to other Cotton Belt regions other than their own to see and learn about innovative production practices from their peers in other geographies. So this year, producers from the Mid-South and Southeast are going to see farming operations in California during the week of July 28th to August 2nd. And in the second tour, which is set for the week of August 4th through the 9th, Southwest and Western producers are going to travel to the Southeast and observe farming operations in Georgia. Now, the PI program is sponsored by BASF through a grant to the Cotton Foundation. And check out cottongrower.com for more information on tour specifics and participants as we get closer to those tour dates. And speaking of sponsors, we'd like to welcome Texas Biotech as a supporting sponsor of the Cotton Companion. They have a short message they'd like to share with you right now.
Envision your cotton fields reaching their full potential. Introducing Regenzyme, the advanced biostimulant from Texas Biotechnology Incorporated. Regenzyme's scientifically engineered formula enhances nutrient uptake, optimizes root development, and mitigates abiotic stress. Say goodbye to yield variability and hello to consistent, robust harvest. Regenzyme leverages novel enzyme technology to naturally enhance plant and soil health. Join the community of progressive cotton growers who trust the science behind Regenzyme. Elevate your cotton production with Regenzyme, the ultimate biostimulant for superior crop performance.
Many thanks to the folks at Texas Biotech for their support.
So, all right. Now we'd like to introduce all of y'all to a great friend of Cotton Grower as a media brand, and a great friend, as you may learn, of American cotton growers in general. And that's Mr. Buddy Allen. He is the president and CEO of the American Cotton Shippers Association, a position that I have learned only a handful of men have held in the now 100-year history of ACSA. So he also serves as secretary and treasurer of that organization and works on some various subcommittees inside ACSA. And he also serves on the Ag Advisory Board of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. Now, in his early career, Buddy cut his teeth on Capitol Hill working in the office of longtime Senator Thad Cochran of Mississippi. And Buddy was involved in the Macon Edwards Company, a government affairs firm, while he was there in D.C. Today, he is a partner in A&J Planting Company up in Tunica, Mississippi. But like me, he is a native of the Deep Delta. He's from down there in Belzona, Mississippi. And also, like me, a graduate of Ole Miss. He now lives in Tunica with his wife, Allison, and the couple's 3 daughters. And Buddy, I think I've done a sufficient job of introducing you there. Welcome to the Cotton Companion podcast.
Thank you, Beck. I appreciate the partnership with Cotton Grower, and I appreciate the opportunity to participate in your program today.
Yeah, man. Gosh, we're so happy. I know you're busy. You're in D.C. as we speak today. I know you stay busy and working hard. So, you know, to get everything on the table for our listeners' knowledge, I have been working on writing a history of the American Cotton Shippers Association for the past couple of months. As I mentioned, this is the 100th year of ACSA, so it's a special time for the association. But so for me personally, I have this new understanding about how important the work that y'all have done over the decades has been. Now, for our audience's sake, Buddy, and that's going to be mostly farmers, mostly growers, can you explain what ACSA does day to day on behalf of our industry?
Sure. Well, it's relatively simple. We buy cotton from farmers, and in many cases, farmer-owned marketing cooperatives, and we sell it to yarn mills. In doing so, we assume many of the risk. Now, I want to be careful to state that we recognize farmers bear so many risks that can't be hedged, whether it's weather, environmental, and all the others that you understand. But they are able to offload certain risk to merchandisers. For example, when they forward contract their price, they then do not have exposure to market activity from that point forward. So we're pleased that we can assume and manage many of those risks that beyond price consider, transportation, consider those geopolitical or macroeconomic events that can cause disruption into our supply chain and markets. And after we've handled that component of our function, we then are responsible for the physical delivery of cotton, which today is evolving to a very export-centric market. Almost 90% of U.S. cotton is being shipped to very complex markets around the world. And collectively, we stand in and provide critical liquidity to farmers in real time, so they have the standing option to convert their commodities, cotton specifically, to currency and have that cash flow and liquidity that they need.
Yeah, I was going to say you started off really simplifying what it is y'all do, and then you started talking about liquidity and such. And that, I mentioned I'm a Delta boy in Ole Miss. I'm not a brainy one like you. But I got you. I understand. I'll tell you, buddy. In my research on this thing I've been writing for y'all, I've been reading back over the years, and one thing that stuck out to me as the longtime editor of a farmer publication is how often over the years ACSA has gone to bat for cotton farmers in DC, lobbying USDA to fund stuff like pest eradication and to fund, on-farm research. And this is going back to the 20s and 30s and every point in between then and now. Why is it that ACSA has historically made that a part of their focus?
Well, we've been around a long time. When we were founded, there were not, organizations like the National Cotton Council that represented the entirety of the U.S. cotton industry. But we've only got two types of customers: farmers and mills. And the cotton that our farmer customers produce is our only product to sell. So their success and their commercial viability is a mandate for our existence and our opportunity. So we want to see the growers' opportunity flourish so that they'll produce volume, which creates opportunity for our business model. So any way we can collaborate and support our customers to make the U.S. cotton industry as efficient and opportune as possible, we've got a mutual interest in that. And that's why we have for 100 years and continue to work to make sure that this opportunity can continue to exist in the United States.
Yeah, a little bit of a what's good for the goose is good for the gander situation there. So
there you go.
Now, buddy, I know today you are in DC, as we mentioned earlier, and we know that Congress is in the throes of Farm Bill creation. I think I saw a headline today said they were going to be delayed for some SNAP issues and climate issues they're trying to cram in there. But in my research, I saw that throughout the decades, ACSA has been heavily involved in crafting the cotton programs that are a part of these farm bills that come along once every few years. So what are some of the measures that ACSA, and I know that you were in close contact with the council, National Cotton Council, what are some measures that y'all are advocating for in this 2024 legislative effort?
Well, good question and good timing. First, I'm proud to say that our industry is really well aligned. And I think the National Cotton Council has led and done an excellent job bringing the whole industry around the table to put ideas on the table and deliver some pretty innovative asks to Congress. And we just saw recently the House Ag Committee pass the chairman's mark in a bipartisan manner, with four Democrats voting with all of the Republicans under the chairmanship of G.T. Thompson. And hats off to Chairman Thompson for working really hard for a long time and engaging deeply with the U.S. cotton industry and across party lines to bring an end to the political gridlock and get this first critical step of the Farm Bill passed. And I think it's fair to say that the domestic mills, the co-ops, the merchants, the growers, we're working as a team, and everybody's reading from the same script and collaborating in a healthy and constructive way. So I'm pleased to be part of that. We're working on increasing reference prices in the Title I commodity programs, making crop insurance more robust, providing critical support for domestic mills. One component of this safety net that ACSA has been really focused on is modernizing the marketing assistance loan. We think this is going to increase U.S. cotton's value, particularly in lower price profiles, which it appears that we are heading into. And it can also make U.S. cotton more liquid for shipment which is has got so many intangible values and can create so much opportunity for heightened competitiveness. So that's been our focus, and we're pleased that these themes are in the base text that was passed by the House Ag Committee in the markup. So it's better to be in and fight for preservation than to be out and work for inclusion downstream in this process. So we're starting at a high water mark, and I hope we can keep it up there.
Now, Buddy, I know obviously there are other projects and activities and challenges that you're focused on outside of the Farm Bill. One of the ones that I think we've talked about over the last couple of years, particularly through the COVID years, is our logistical challenges. Are we still dealing with some of those? And if so, where do we stand with the shipping and trucking situations?
Well, we had an incredibly broken supply chain post-COVID, Jim, to your point, and total cargo volume inbound to the United States got to levels that totally inundated the supply chain, and it was dysfunctional at best. We've seen a reprieve in that. Things are better. Things are not great, but there's been some good legislation passed in the Ocean Shipping Reform Act. There's been ongoing implementation and rulemaking around that. We're starting to see some of the fruits of that labor, but more broadly than that, we're in an era now that has got our focus in a very acute manner. As you know, Joe Nicosia is serving as chairman of National Cotton Council this year. We're proud to have a merchant representative in that esteemed role. It's only happened a couple of times in history. And Joe's slogan that he has started and ended many of his conversations with this year is that if we don't compete, we will get beat. And what Joe is referencing is the competitive nature in the global marketplace. And we last year we saw Brazil produce more cotton than the United States for the first time. This year we're going to see them ship more cotton into the export market than the United States for the first time. Their yields are incredible. Their cost is significantly lower. Their vertical integration is daunting. They're a force to be reckoned with, and we're going to have to really analyze every piece of our industry to leverage every efficiency opportunity that we can. And so that's an open-ended statement. If you don't compete, you will get beat. So how do we compete? And that question deserves an answer. And ACSA's answer for that question is fourfold. The first thing we think we have to do is to modernize our safety net. And we've talked about the Farm Bill, and the National Cotton Council is doing an excellent job of leading in that respect. The second component we believe is that we've got to improve our interior supply chain, and we're not going to be able to wait 100 days more than the Brazilians to ship cotton. We're going to have to keep this cotton liquid in real time, so that we can make those critical sales when those opportunities are put in front of us. That is happening. There are commercial solutions occurring between shippers and warehousemen that are starting to spread. There's a lot of work to be done there. It's not just about warehousing. It's about ocean freight. It's about Jim, you mentioned trucking. It's about chassis availability. It's about rail service, which is at a point that we're concerned about. We think that could be potentially the weakest link in the supply chain when volume comes back today. So we got to work on a lot of things in that respect. The third point I would make is that we've got to leverage the U.S. consumer in our trade policy. One thing that we have that Brazil does not have is the power of the U.S. consumer and the might of their spend on finished textile goods. And for us to need a tariff rate quota to ship raw cotton into the export market, but allow unfettered access at a multiplied value proposition for these goods to come back finished to the U.S. consumer, that's probably not sustainable long term for our industry. So that needs to be a focus. And the fourth and last thing that we would say is that we're going to have to add unique additional value to our cotton, and that's being done through the U.S. Cotton Trust protocols, increased sustainability offering through the traceability that comes with that program, and then our producers are continuing to leverage new technology and opportunities that set us apart. So we're going to have to do all those things simultaneously to be competitive And I'm confident this industry can align and do those things. And alongside of that, another item that we're watching very carefully, and one thing I'm working on in Washington this week, is the broad themes of this administration and this Congress to bring forth clean energy from agriculture through the production of sustainable aviation fuel and other types of solutions to decarbonize the transportation and supply chain. We think it's important that cotton does not miss that opportunity to participate. And what we're seeing now is certainly more favorable for grains and oilseeds. So we want to make sure that we're at the table and we're active to create opportunities for our industry there.
Sounds great. Now, we've mentioned numerous times, ACSA is turning 100 years old, and that's obviously quite an achievement for any trade association. You've had experience on Capitol Hill. You're still there on Capitol Hill. Elsewhere, you've seen other industries and other associations. What is it about ACSA that makes it unique?
Well, Jim, if I had to pick one thing, I would say ACSA's global perspective and our presence. While I'll be totally transparent, the U.S. market is the key to the American Cotton Shippers Association's members' business models. Particularly, there's a reason why the heads of these platforms are located in Memphis and in Dallas and in the United States. It's because of the high volume of exportable supply of really quality cotton and remarkable counterparties here in the United States, both on the producer and mill side. And then we have the unique authenticity of quality verification through our classing system that USTA has led. We're still the only growth in the world that classes every bale of cotton individually. And we've got excellent counterparty reputation when it comes to providing a quality product that is consistent with the way we describe it. And then lastly, and not last in importance, is the highly functional physical delivery-based futures market in the United States. The fact that we can have delivery warehouses where convergence occurs and these businesses can add value through trading and there can be a functional marketplace really makes this the center and the key. But we sell alternative growths. We sell every region of the U.S. Our members sell other growths. And because of that, we have a comparative analysis and a perspective on competing industries that's unique to any other market participant in the United States. And, in many cases where we're investing in promotion and conducting activities to go and network and build customers, our members have got bricks and mortar. We're there. We are there, and we are creating demand in a marketplace for U.S. cotton in real time through our member firms' investments, and we're proud of that. So it's not something that we want to hide. We want to disclose and leverage for the benefit of the United States industry.
Well, I think it's safe to say that association certainly is a survivor. When you step back and think about things that this association has survived over the last 100 years, Great Depression, world wars, wild shifts in the market. We've seen, it's threatened to bankrupt and tank not only cotton, but other industries and things like here. Man, I tell you, sometimes you look at it and go, it's a real tip of the hat that ACSA is still here.
Well, thank you. And I hope it doesn't end on my watch, Jim.
I don't think that's possible.
But we've weathered some big storms. You're right. And I'm proud of the innovation that our members have deployed. We've adapted, we've reinvented our business model and our services to stay relevant. We've got to continue to do that. And let me say this too, their bodies on the battlefield. There's been consolidation in the trade. The capital and liquidity requirements that are necessary today are daunting. I'll use that word again. And I think it's of critical importance that we protect the trade to make sure the U.S. grower can continue to enjoy this liquidity and this opportunity to lay risk off that we have today, because this market needs competition. It needs robust participation. It's critical. I'm proud to be part of it. I'm proud of the fact that we have been resilient for a century, to your point. And I know that our leadership is committed to to making this industry resilient going forward. So thank you for that compliment.
Yeah, buddy. It is remarkable. 100 years. That's not nothing, man. That's nothing to scoff at there. So we congratulate ACSA on that big milestone you guys are hitting this year. We thank you for taking time out of your busy day today. Like I say, you're there in Washington, D.C. I'm sure you got meetings lined up all day. So we thank you for not only making time for us, but giving us a little insight into kind of the measures that y'all are advocating for there this week as the sausage is getting made. So, man, again, we just thank you, and we look forward to seeing you. I will be in Phoenix later this month for ACSA's annual convention out there, and looking forward to seeing you then.
Well, I appreciate that, and I also just will say thank you again on behalf of our staff and our chairman, Ernie Schroeder of Jess Smith and Sons. He's done a remarkable job bringing this centennial year into full celebration, and we're excited about the convention coming up. And thank you for your time and your interest today, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, man, I'll be there. Don't judge me on my golf game, but I will. I would say wear a helmet, but I will be there.
Okay, Beck, Jim, good to see you.
Thanks,
You.
buddy. Appreciate the time. And that's it for this episode of the Cotton Companion podcast. Thanks again to Buddy Allen from ACSA for joining today's discussion. Thanks also to American Cotton Shippers Association and to Texas Biotech for their support and sponsorship of the Cotton Companion. And as always, thanks to you, dear listeners, for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you like what you heard, please be sure to spread the word and tell your friends about the Cotton Companion podcast. Here's where and how they can find us.
You can find the Cotton Companion in 3 easy ways. First, go to cottongrower.com/companion, or simply click the podcast tab at the top of the homepage. Second, subscribe to our channel on iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts these days. And 3, sign up for our weekly e-newsletter, the Cotton Grower e-News, that's delivered to your email inbox every Tuesday morning. You can do that by going to cottongrower.com/subscribe. Also, be sure to follow Cotton Grower on social media. We are at Cotton Grower Mag on Twitter. And on Facebook, you'll find us by searching for Cotton Grower Magazine.
Cotton Companion podcast is produced twice monthly by Tyler Hatch and Kim Henderson, our talented colleagues at the world headquarters for Meister Media Worldwide in lovely Willoughby, Ohio. I'm Jim Stedman, he's Beck Barnes, and we'll be back with you in a few weeks with the next episode of the Cotton Companion. Until then, keep those planters rolling and stay safe.
Yeah, he works and he works and he works and he works all day. God made a farmer